Brenda here. Today on Tamarindo, we talk to Becca Ramos, the host of Welcome to El Barrio, a podcast about Puerto Rican history, news, and pop culture. We talked to her all about the upcoming Bad Bunny halftime show and its cultural impact. Before that, Delcy and I talk about what we're loving about our Unbothered Era as elder millennials approaching midlife. Now, if you want to hang with badass mujeres who are unbothered, but also undeterred, you're invited to Tamarindo's culture-filled retreat to Mexico. We are exploring Central Mexico, the cities of Puebla and Cholula, a couple hours away from Mexico City. The dates are April 30th through May 4th. Space is limited and we are almost sold out. So this is your last opportunity to sign up. And we are still running our early bird discount of 15% off. Go to tamarindopodcast.com and search Encuentro and apply right away. All right, let's get started. Welcome to Tamarindo Podcast, hosted by me, Brenda Gonzalez, a fitness coach, political nerd, and nonprofit capacity builder.
And me, Delcy Sandoval, a Guatemalan-American licensed therapist and passionate creativity advocate. Together, we're here to uplift our community through powerful conversations with changemakers, creatives, and healers.
Each week on the pod, we talk politics, culture, and personal development. Listeners call Tamarindo the Advocacy and Self-Love Podcast. Vámonos! Let's start the show.
All right. Hello, Tamarindo listeners. Hey, Brenda. How you doing?
I'm happy to be here with you as always. How are you? How's your, what is this, Thursday? How's your Thursday going?
It feels like I've had 16 days in one day today. That's how I feel.
I'm right there with you. It's been a crazy day.
Yeah. I'm like, wait, was that today? Did I do that yesterday? Like when you're at it too long, oh my God.
Yeah. Zoom after Zoom and meetings after meetings, but yeah.
Yeah. And which kind of leads me to today's topic, which is interesting. Lately we've been realizing that we're in something that Brenda and I are going to call our unbothered era. Not because we don't care. Okay. We're not unbothered because we don't care. Obviously we deeply care. Hence why we continue this podcast. But it's like we no longer have time, energy, the emotional budget to be stressed about everything that we were stressed in maybe the decades prior. Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we still feel things. We just don't engage with all the things. So today I wanted to kind of be open about talking about what unbothered actually looks like for us in real life, the funny parts, the growth parts, the moments, you surprise yourself, todo eso.
Yeah.
So what does it even mean like to me? And I want to hear from you, Brenda. What does it mean to you? I'll start. For me, it's like, I'm more observant this decade, right? As I'm entering kind of midlife, I feel like I'm much less reactive. I just care selectively. Like how much I care is kind of selective, and I'm choosing peace a lot more in a way that I don't even announce it. People are like, what's going on with Delcy? I'm like, that's not something I'm engaging with anymore. How about you, Brenda? How would you explain this era in your own words?
I think that's very true. So I'll give you a little story. So I just listened to, it was, by the way, everybody go listen to it because it was just such joy. There's such heaviness that you need something joyful. So I was listening to Amy Poehler's podcast, which is Good Hang, and she had Claire Danes. And Claire Danes, first of all, what I learned on this podcast is how lighthearted and fun she is. And I think that part of what this being unbothered and being of a certain age is sort of part of Amy Poehler's whole thing. It's just like, who cares? Yeah. We're at this stage where it doesn't, things are so much lighter. But anyways, one of the things they talked about is some sort of test. Now, I don't even remember the name, but you get to figure out you're a certain number. And I learned on this podcast that they're both number 8. So I went online to try to take this test. And a lot of the questions I was realizing, they were questions like, I look for confrontation. Yes, no, agree, disagree, don't agree. Or like, I confront someone when someone's bothering me, something's bothering me. Things that I know that a decade ago, I would have been like, yes, absolutely. I'm front and center on the debate and I'm not going to let something slip and I will confront you. But now I'm answering more like, meh.
Yeah.
And it's this unbothered thing where I'm not going to waste energy on things, maybe, and almost kind of like, God, I wish I didn't waste energy in the past. There's just so many things that just are not even worth it. You're just like, whatever, just let this thing slide or move on or spend your energy in a different way. I have kind of caught myself realizing that maybe it's this feeling of being unbothered in a way that I haven't been before.
Yeah. And I feel like, it's interesting to kind of differentiate this from not caring, because I do care about a lot of things. I just feel like I'm not spiraling anymore. You know what I mean? It's like the stress used to live rent free in my head. And now it kind of doesn't. Like, let's say a really good example is like, maybe I didn't get to something that I was supposed to do. In the past, I would have been so stressed. I would have felt overwhelmed. Let's say that I had to do something for a friend and I really didn't want to, but I had already committed and I was, that kind of lives with you. It feels like a weight. Now I'm sort of like, well, I didn't do it. Así fue. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like I don't care. It's not like I don't love this person. It's not like I don't, feel bad, but there is this like letting go of lo que no se pudo, right? What you couldn't do that I feel like is it that you care less or you're just caring in a smarter way? No sé.
I think it's like, maybe just like caring in a smarter way. Well, for one thing you mentioned is like maybe something that you don't really want to do. I think now I basically don't do things that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
I don't do things that I don't want to do. And so that helps a lot, right? That helps a lot. But then also like when you do commit to something or even maybe it's like a personal goal, like something you set out to do for yourself. Maybe in the past, I would have beat myself up if I didn't get to it, if I didn't accomplish it. And I feel like I'm giving myself a lot more grace, a lot more permission to just, like you said, like I didn't get to it.
It didn't happen. It didn't happen, but I don't have that PhD. It's fine. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, I don't know if this was your case too, Brenda, but I feel like I was always like going to somebody's tia's, cousins, like family members' baptism. Like I was always driving like halfway across the world to go to something that somebody made me feel was an obligation. And now I'm like, I don't know that person. I will not be attending, and it's fine. And yeah.
Well, what's funny with that is that like I guess lucky me, I didn't grow up with that because all my family was basically not around. They were all in Mexico. So I didn't have as many family obligations as a lot of people do that have a lot of family here. But I'll give you a very current example. So right after this recording, we're going to head out to the desert because a friend of ours is having a birthday. And they had a dress up component to it. Now, I used to be like, oh my gosh, like rattling my brain, like it's got to be the best. It's got to be super creative. And we're known for our Halloween costumes. But this time I was like, dude, like you're a grown man having your birthday. Do we really need to dress up? The theme was like iconic album covers. And we're not going to do it. And like, I don't think like years ago, I would definitely be like, we're going to do it. Like, this is like, we got to commit to this thing. And we're just not going to do it. Like, no me dio tiempo. And I'm just, it's too specific. You all get me how aquí como estoy and ni modo.
Yeah. I feel like you're kind of already dressed like a Leela Downs album.
There you go. So that's what I'll say. I'm a Leela Downs album today.
I think you already did it. All right. So quick rapid fire. List 2 to 3 things that genuinely just don't bother you anymore, Brenda, that you think used to be a priority.
Well, I wouldn't say 100%. It's not 100% gone, but I think I'm a little bit less. I'm not beating myself up about how I eat or what I eat. I love to eat delicious things,
Big one.
And it's hard because it's very easy to slip into like this is bad for you, this is good for you, or I need to punish myself because I ate that one thing. I'm trying to do less of that. I wouldn't say I'm all the way done with it, but that's one thing that I'm just like, that gives me joy. I want a cookie and I'm going to enjoy this cookie, and I don't need to earn it. I just want to have this cookie.
Yeah. And I don't need to work it off after I just enjoyed the cookie. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love treating myself that way. It's the way that I show myself love is eating that cookie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna hop back over to you, and I'm gonna go. I think for me, a big one is probably being misunderstood. I think when I was younger, if I felt like someone misunderstood me, it was a big deal to me, and I would feel the need to like explain myself, or like make sure I righted a wrong, or like that they saw me in a different light, something like that. Like if I came off the wrong way, I try to fix it, and now I'm like, I came off how I came off. Like,
oh my God. What you're describing, this is what it made me, and what I'm sharing right now. Jeff and I went to a restaurant the other day, and we were sitting next to they were a queer couple. There were two women, and they were having a good time until one of them said something maybe not in the perfect way. And so the other one said, the way you said that to me made me feel this. And then all of a sudden they had a horrible time, and we were listening because they were right next to each other. But I think it was because they were so caught up in like, let me explain myself. No, let me explain myself. Well, you understood it this way. Well, you understood it that way. It was very fascinating to observe this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it is, maybe as women, or what it could be, I know it's important to communicate and share our feelings, but maybe there's a time where there are things that maybe we don't need to.
Yeah.
Maybe you can let that go.
And it also it depends on so many factors, like your sense of humor, what words you use based on when you were born. Obviously, you're respectful to a certain degree, and we're all following along in the zeitgeist, right? So no estoy diciendo like do whatever you want. But I'm saying more like, if that day I'm feeling silly and I'm going to give you like a silly answer to something, and that was upsetting to you, pues así fue. You know what I mean? Like that's what it is that day. And I'm kind of letting myself be that person and be genuine and be authentic in that way. Like for a great example is this podcast, or podcasting in general. And when I first started, I was like constantly re-listening to every word I said, making sure it couldn't be misconstrued, that the point was perfectly across, that my tone was, y ahora it's like, listen, this is capturing in real time who I am today at this moment, my thoughts and feelings ahorita. It's not always going to be right, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think people are drawn to that. I mean, that like, I think, I that is happening more so even in conversations that I have with like friends. I am in a lot of circles where it could be intimidating. I'm thinking about my book club. I'm part of this book club where all of these women are just incredibly accomplished. And I realized that like I'm much more well received when I'm not even thinking about what I'm saying. Like I'm funnier and it lands well. And so yeah, I think sometimes when we're so busy editing as we speak, or trying to catch ourselves, or trying to get it perfect, you lose yourself. And so if you could just kind of get rid of that inner editor, you might be funnier.
Yeah, you might be happier. So give me one more, Brenda. Hit me with something that used to ruin your day, and now you're like, yeah, no, I'm okay.
Yes, I think it's fashion.
That's a big one.
I remember as a little girl, gosh, it would be so stressful to me. What am I going to wear to school today? I almost wish that we had a uniform, because it was so stressful for me. Like, how am I going to look cool? And I'll give you an example. One time that I flew too close to the sun. I got this super cool t-shirt. I got it from Miller's Outpost, and yes. I wore it to school. I got so many compliments. People loved it. So the next day I was like, gosh, that went well. I'm going to wear it again. Well, you don't wear that twice, right? You don't do I didn't know that was a faux pas, right? So, but okay, so that was old me, and this is young me, and maybe that even informs, that traumatic experience might inform why I was so like, what am I going to wear? I'm choosing comfort. I choose comfort. I also am not interested in spending a lot of money on clothes often, all the time, like I used to in the past. So if you see my shirt and you've seen it 10 times, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if you've seen the shirt over and over again. I have like 5 and they're on rotation, and I'm definitely never wearing pants when I'm doing these.
Listen, I'm reminded of a Larry David scene where he's like, "Are you auditing my attire? What?"
Yeah. Don't take inventory. And if you are, guess what? Yeah. Yeah, it is the same shirt.
Okay, for me, my last one I'll share is like timelines. When I was young, I was obsessed with timelines. My mom actually brought it to my attention several times, and I was like, "Ma, leave me alone, leave me alone." But I was like, okay, by this age, tengo que hacer tal cosa. I have to do this thing. By this age, by 40, I need to own a home. By this time, I need to do this and that. And I just, at this point, it's like I'm so in the moment in every day. And I'm so focused on joy and connection and feeling comfortable and peaceful and not dealing with nonsense that those timelines are all over the place, and that's fine. And I'm not worried about it. And it feels good. It feels good, which kind of leads me to the next part of this, which is our closing here. What does this era give us, Brenda? What do you feel more of now when you compare like what was going on in your internal world decades ago?
Well, I feel more time, because I think there's a lot of time that goes into meeting those expectations that you have for yourself, or even going shopping, so I think I have more time. And so that's huge, right? Because time is all we have. And also a deeper appreciation of time, because the older we get, the faster it seems that time goes. I think it's even scientifically proven that is the feeling. It's not just like in our heads, but it's actually like it's a real phenomenon that time just goes by so quickly the older we get. And I don't know. I don't know if it's because I'm older or if we're all feeling this. Feels like we all felt this. Just the pandemic, the years that were robbed, right? The years that were robbed, and then even right now with how quickly the house of cards of our democracy just freaking fell. Time is so precious. So I feel like time is very, very valuable. And I think that's it gives you the freedom, and gives you a little bit more time when you're not spending it worrying on things that really don't matter.
I love that. And I think that's true. I feel that as well. I have to say, for me, what this has really given me, and now that I'm auditing it, especially preparing for this episode, I was having a lot of reflections about this. Like, my relationships are better. They're way less. Okay. I'm not rolling deep like I was before. I don't have, 1,000 friends or party friends or acquaintances like I did when I was younger. I have a handful of people in my life, and those relationships are quality. Like, because I'm being myself, I'm being real. It is what it is. This is what you get. The people who like me this way, they like me, for real. And so there is this like genuineness, this connection that feels more comfortable, long-term, special. And I think we mutually understand that when we're together and spending time together. And so that has been much better than like the million people that I was around that I don't think really knew anything about me,
Mm-hmm. So you actually are rolling deep. You're rolling in deeper friendships.
Yeah,
right?
I'm rolling deep, very deep.
Yes, I agree. That's one of the beautiful things about being when you're guarding your precious time and your peace. That could be an outcome, right? Is that you're going to go deeper, more meaningful relationships, and so I think that's one of the most beautiful things about it. Yeah, I love that.
All right, so we're embracing this unbothered. We hope the listeners are embracing this unbothered era. We'd love to hear from you. If you have ideas or things that have to do with your unbothered era, send them over. We'll share them here. Let's move on to today's guest.
Brenda here from Tamarindo, and I want to personally invite you to join me for our third annual Encuentro, a restorative retreat to Puebla, Mexico, April 30th through May 4th. This is an incredible experience for badass mujeres who need a break. Immerse yourself in Puebla's cultural attractions, build community, and leave recharged with tools to thrive. Perfect if you're seeking renewal and intentional connection in a supportive and uplifting space. The dates are April 30th through May 4th in Puebla, just a couple hours away from Mexico City. Space is extremely limited. We're looking for 8 travelers. And if you bring a friend, you each can save $400. Go to tamarindopodcast.com and find Encuentro from the menu. Once again, that's tamarindopodcast.com and search Encuentro. All right, next up, we speak to Becca Ramos, here to share her thoughts on the Bad Bunny Super Bowl halftime show and the cultural significance of this moment. All right, welcome, Becca. So good to have you.
Thank you for having me, you guys.
Yeah, this is so great. So you are the producer of Las Culturistas, and you were recently a guest on the show. And this is how I learned that both your parents are Puerto Rican, but you mostly grew up in Texas. You grew up in Texas. So we want to know, what is your version of ni de aquí, ni de allá as a Puerto Rican American?
Yeah, I would say my version of ni de aquí, ni de allá is being a Puerto Rican, not only having grown up in Texas, but not speaking Spanish and also identifying as Afro-Latina, because growing up, being so dark-skinned, being like black hair, curly hair, and obviously I look different on this Zoom, but if I had pictures of myself growing up as a kid, I was like 8 shades darker than this. My hair was much more coily. I think when you're in Texas versus now I live in New York City, so I get pale in the winter, but it's sun all year round. So I was definitely more like Afro-Latina presenting growing up. And I do think that made me stand out not only within the Latin community in Texas, but also within my family. My parents, I would say in comparison to me, are fairly fair-skinned. And my brother too. My brother has like light brown hair and lighter eyes, and it is a fair complexion. And so just growing up, I already felt out of place with my family, and people are out of pocket. Kids, they're mean and they say things to you and they say you're adopted and they say you don't look like your parents and yada, yada, yada. Even adult women would say things to my mother and be like, oh, well, is your husband the same father of your daughter as your son? Which it's like, would you say that to a white woman? Who knows? It's just, it was very clear from my life growing up that I was othered, and I also was othered within my family in a way. Not that my parents made me feel othered, but it was clear. Like, I looked at myself and was like, well, I don't belong here, and I don't belong here. And I also have kids telling me, well, you don't speak Spanish, so you don't belong with us. So I was like, well, where do I belong? I know I'm Puerto Rican because my mom is such a proud Puerto Rican woman. I grew up in a very Latin home. I would say like the doors within the walls of my home felt very brown. But then I walked in the world, and at the end of the day, I'm in Texas, I'm listening to country music. I'm listening to Beyonce. I'm, going to public school. It was a very different environment. So it wasn't until I moved to New York where I felt more comfortable and less like I lived in these two worlds. But I would say most of my life, I really felt like I was straddling this dual world of Latin in my home, but not outside of it.
And thanks so much for sharing that. I think a lot of our listeners can really relate to that experience. And I think they're also listening about your Puerto Rican heritage. And I think everybody's thinking, what did you think? What did you feel when you learned that Bad Bunny would be performing at the upcoming halftime show for the Super Bowl? Let's talk about that.
Honestly, it was such an interesting feeling, because it was like, after watching his year, 2025, it almost felt like, duh, of course. He is hitting this like incredible pinnacle of his career. I think if you're someone who enjoys pop culture, you enjoy entertainment, you understand how the gravity of getting the Super Bowl performance, it is like a career solidifying thing if you're wanting to be like an American music superstar, and that doesn't mean you have to be an American artist to be that. Obviously, Shakira's performed, Coldplay's performed. There have been many non-US artists who have made it to the Super Bowl, but it means you've solidified yourself in the Americana pop culture, right? But I was naive to think it would have the backlash that it did. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, like this is a huge moment for him. It's a huge moment for the community, because I would say, unlike maybe a performance of like J-Lo's in the past, where it's like, yes, J-Lo is Puerto Rican and she's, put on a very Puerto Rican performance last time she was on, and she shared the stage with Shakira. I would say the pride wasn't the same as we're feeling right now, because Bad Bunny's been so, like, through every fiber is being unapologetically putting Puerto Rico on the map and not letting anybody, say anything bad about Puerto Rico. He is like, I'm here because I'm Puerto Rican. Everything about my art is literally bleeding out my love for my island and my culture, and you can't take that away from me. So I think people were more excited than maybe when J-Lo performed, because J-Lo, at the end of the day, I think she carries herself as a Nuyorican and as like a Americana star. She's J-Lo before she's Puerto Rican. Whereas I would argue with Bad Bunny, he is just as equally Puerto Rican as he is Bad Bunny.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she's not someone that's really sticking her neck out the way that other artists have. She's sort of vanilla, right? We could swallow. People can swallow that sort of Latinidad,
Yes, exactly.
but and then I love how you talked about how Bad Bunny has he made a political statement by choosing not to tour in the U.S.
Correct.
So I remember when there was rumors that he would be performing in the show, people were like, oh no, but he's purposely not being in the U.S. So there was a little bit of surprise when he was selected for this. But I think that's sort of the context, the background to some of that backlash. But what else? What else is significant? Like, why do you think there was so much backlash when you kind of extend out beyond the fact that he's Puerto Rican? That, how Latinos are being vilified, what else could be behind some of that backlash?
I think it's obviously where we're at in the country right now, right? There's this huge tension with ICE. And I think, and this goes to the ignorance of a lot of people that don't sit within the diaspora, I don't mean the Puerto Rican diaspora, but the Latin diaspora. They assume that we are all immigrants, that we all share the same citizenship status. So I think there was a lot of ignorance that people were like, well, he doesn't speak English, and therefore he is not an American citizen, and therefore why is he playing at the Super Bowl? Which is like ignorant on like so many levels. It's ignorant on his citizenship status. It's ignorant on Puerto Rico in terms of its political situation within the United States, that I would argue a lot of people, even Puerto Ricans, Puerto Ricans that live in the United States, I would say people in the island obviously understand, but I would say there are a lot of Puerto Ricans who are in the United States that don't fully understand the gravity of Puerto Rico's political position within the United States. And it's hard. I think it stirred something that like a lot of people did not want to acknowledge before right now. I think it just happened to be at the intersection of not only the United States war on the Latin American community and in general immigrants, and also highlighting that all the issues that Puerto Rico is facing in their unique position within the diaspora and within the United States colonial set that they have.
I'm curious for you, what is it that you hope to see in this performance? How do you think it'll have a cultural impact? How can it have a cultural impact?
I think the biggest thing is he will not sing in English. And I love that. I think that is so important, because I think it not only highlights that Puerto Rico is a Latin American independent country of the United States to a degree, right? Obviously in a colonial status, we are not. But this is an island that speaks Spanish. Their primary language is Spanish. These people have their own culture. There's a whole reason why he made the song Hawaii, because he doesn't want us to gain statehood status and then have our culture be stripped of it like Hawaii's culture was when it became a state. So I think it's important in showcasing like what Puerto Rico really is, aka him being able to sing in Spanish, perform as his authentic self. I think that is so important. And I also think because he's already shown solidarity with the immigrant community, that it is so great to still see him not back down from performing at the Super Bowl and be like, I'm here. I am here performing in Spanish, because he could perform in English, right? He has a few songs in English. He could bring on English-speaking Latin artists and sing English songs, and that's where I would say this is the difference between his performance than, let's say, J-Lo and Shakira's performance. They sung in English. They chose to sing all English songs, even though Shakira is fully Colombian. She is a Colombian artist. She is a global Latina icon. I do not want to take that away from her. But she understood, especially at that political climate at that time, she was like, I'm choosing to sing in English. These are my English songs or my translated songs. And these are the songs I want to highlight in my Super Bowl performance, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I think given the political climate, I think it's very powerful that he's like, I'm not backing down. I will be singing in Spanish. I will be bringing on other Latin artists that sing in Spanish. And I will not falter because of what the American government is trying to villainize and fearmonger.
Mm-hmm. Okay, one last question about Bad Bunny before I invite you to tell us about your podcast. But one question is, what do you predict? Do you think that the subtitles will say, will they be translated, or will it say, non-English? Like, what are you predicting for the subtitles?
I feel like it'll end up being non-English, and not because he wants it to be, but I do feel like it's like a little bit of an American jab on being like, we are not happy about this, and they won't translate it because they don't want
fuck
to.
ICE,
Yeah, hopefully they align with us and it just says fuck ICE the whole time.
That's what comes out anytime any of us are speaking at the bottom line.
Yes.
Oh my God, hilarious. Okay, well, we could tell that you're very passionate and knowledgeable about Puerto Rico and your identity. So tell us about your podcast, which is coming out today. When this airs, your podcast is already out. So tell us about it.
Yes, listen to my podcast, Welcome to Barrio, February 3rd, wherever you should get your podcast. But basically, it came out of a birth of an idea as a show that I really needed growing up, as someone who, as we had talked about at the beginning of this segment, that felt ni de aquí ni de allá. Like I was yearning for this connection with my culture and my roots because I had been so removed from it growing up, out of survival, out of assimilation, out of, what my parents and my family thought was best for their success in, the American dream. But the reality is that's not the world we live in anymore. And I am so visibly brown. I was like, I do not want to be shying away from this part of me. And so selfishly, I made the show to interview really incredible, amazing Puerto Ricans who are pushing the culture forward, who are for liberation of Puerto Rico, and to teach me about Puerto Rican history, pop culture, news, whatever, and just be able to give these people a platform to showcase the incredible work they're doing. That's my privilege. I've been able to work in podcasting for the past 4+ years. I have been able to amass an incredible portfolio of working on incredible shows like Las Culturistas and a lot of the other comedy shows on the Big Money Player slate at iHeart. But this is my chance to take all of this privilege that I've amassed and put it out there to put other Puerto Ricans on a spotlight because, Puerto Rico didn't start existing because Bad Bunny blew up. We've been this amazing island of culture that has been undoubtedly a connection between the United States and Puerto Rico since Puerto Rico's colonial status within the United States. And we cannot be ignored, and Bad Bunny made that a point. We cannot be ignored. And once again, I apologize if you hear my dog whining. She gets upset anytime I'm on the phone for longer than a few minutes. She cannot be ignored. She's a Puerto Rican queen who cannot be ignored. But she's a dachshund, so she cannot be ignored. So I'm just so grateful to have the opportunity to do this. I've already recorded 4-5 episodes with guests. This first episode that is out right now is more of a love letter to why I'm doing the show and more narrative. It's just me telling my story. But don't worry, it'll get exciting the next few episodes. We have some really incredible guests coming on. The first guest episode is going to be with Jorel Melendez-Barrio and his wife, Aurora Santiago Ortiz, who are incredible professors, historians, authors. They teach at the University of Madison, Wisconsin. But Jorel kind of blew up a little bit in the past year because he did all the visualizers for Bad Bunny's album, all the historical visualizers. And he wrote an award-winning book, Puerto Rico, A National History. And so we talked to them about, their journey with their work and also getting into, I have a chisme corner at the end of every episode, and we use that to talk about Puerto Rico and Venezuela. Obviously, there's too much to unpack in this moment, but I think it's a really great just eye-opener because I think people don't realize how political Puerto Rico sits in the global spectrum, not just within the United States and their colonial status, but globally. It's been a military base. It's been used for testing, for, different bomb materials. There has been modern day birth control would not exist without Puerto Rico and the testing they did on the women. And now specifically this conversation with Venezuela. And so we as Puerto Rico are in solidarity with Venezuela. And I'm really excited for people to learn a little bit more about the connection between Puerto Rico and Venezuela. But yeah, I use the Chisme Corner to talk about current events, pop culture, politics, whatever. But they're just such great historians and amazing people to talk to that I was like, I had flown into Puerto Rico like the day Venezuela crisis happened and that the airways of Puerto Rico were closed, which is very scary. The Puerto Rican people could not leave or enter the island. And I had just missed like the window of closing, the 24 hours they had closed the airways. My flight was like at 5 a.m. and they had lifted the sanctions at 1 a.m. So when we recorded this the following day, it was just like a perfect time to talk about it. So I'm excited for people to hear and learn a little bit more about what's going on over there because, just because it's not the current moment we're speaking about it right now doesn't mean it's not something that is still happening in our political sphere. But yeah. I really hope people enjoy it. I hope they learn something about themselves and about, Borinquen.
Yes. Okay. Well, people, you can tune in literally after you listen to this conversation. Go listen to this podcast. Becca, this was so much fun and congratulations on all your work. And we can't wait to tune in.
Yes. Thank you so much, you guys.
Okay, we're going to close out this episode as we do with our fun rapid fire questions. Sometimes they're fun. They're not always fun. So, Delcy, maybe I'll give it a start. I'll start with the basura of the week right now. I mean, you already know there's the ice goes in the trash forever and everything, the whole horror things that are happening around us. Yes, that. But what I want to call out today, this time, is even in that context with like the Latino community being completely attacked and has been attacked for decades, we still have this as true, that in 2026, an actress that has already been catching a lot of heat for cosplaying as a person of color was given a role as a character that is meant to be a Latina character. So this is Odessa Asian, and the basura goes to the number of people that made that happen, including her, but even her to a lesser degree, but literally like everybody that like didn't intentionally try to cast a Latina or the people that just like let this happen, right? They give her this role. And there's been so much uproar that she rightfully said, oh no, I don't want to be a part of this mess. And so she rejected the role. So basura to the fact that it happened and a little bit of respect for her for like saying, I read the room and I don't want to be a part of this. Mm-hmm. So yes.
Oh my God, I don't even know how that even got through. I don't know how that got through the chain of command right now. We're not doing that anymore, folks. We're not going to do Natalie Wood again. In West Side Story. We're not doing that again.
Like, let's go. I mean, anyways, yeah.
Yeah, with so many talented actors out there. All right.
Yes.
So my basura is a little bit, let's just say it. So I live in a neighborhood with self-driving cars, self-driving buses, self-delivery robots. And then I went to Solvang over the weekend and my hotel was also self-operating.
Oh my goodness.
And I would just like to say, did I miss a meeting? Did I get lost somewhere? I did not receive the information that everything was changing super fast. I feel like we need almost like a C-SPAN where all day long, it's just going through, hey guys, these are the things that have changed in our society, new inventions, things that are rolling out, because I find myself in a constant state of having to like figure something out. So I remember it. This is going to make me sound ancient, but I remember trying to get into an Uber, like a Tesla Uber, and being like, I can't do this right now. I don't know how to open this car. What happened?
Even the actual Tesla, which does have, when there's a human in it, it still feels like, what?
Yeah, I'm like, how do I get in here? Somebody teach me. And I'm in a constant state of like, oh, I need an app to open this. And how am I going to get my food out of this robot? I'm going to need to press this button. I have to figure it out at all times. And I'm feeling like it's moving too fast. And listen, I'm good at it. I'm adapting. I'm doing the things. But I don't understand. First of all, those are jobs that are gone, right? Just jobs that are gone. No one worked at this hotel. It was like spooky. Okay. And I'm not saying it's not efficient, but I'm going to need like a newsletter is what I'm saying. So basura to all the fast changes that I need to adapt to.
And all the robots delivering. I think I just read a headline about one of these self-driving cars hitting a child by an elementary school.
Oh no!
Like let's like roll it back on the self-driving cars, please. Let's roll it back. So I want to give a shout out to the most recent episode, at least as of this week, of the Latino Newsletter podcast, which is hosted by Michelle Zacarias. And she recently highlighted a report by ProPublica about the disturbing number of citizens being arrested and sometimes deported, and how this administration continues to say that doesn't happen, even though there are literally over 100 cases in this particular report. And what I learned, a couple things that my takeaways from this is, one is that, yes, it's actually rampant right now because any guardrails that there were to avoid this are completely gone. But the other thing I learned is that this has happened in every administration. In every administration, there's been citizens that have been deported or citizens that have been arrested in this mess. Much less in the past, but it's definitely rampant now. So it is totally a lie. Like when the administration says that, oh, we don't do that. Well, are you a miracle? Are you the only administration that hasn't done that? So it's just really disturbing. But my Matraca, again, goes to the Latino Newsletter for covering this, and they did it in such a great way. I'm going to link this particular episode in the show notes so y'all can listen to it, or you can go to thelatinonewsletter.org to listen to it yourself.
Great. For me, my Matraca, I think, is going to go to somebody like you, Brenda. I think I'm going to assume that you fall into this category. I work New York time and I live in California. So I get up at 4:30 in the morning and I start work at 5 a.m. I am not a morning person. Okay. So I was not aware of what goes on between the hours of 4:30 and like 7:30, 8:30. Okay. And lately I am awake and I am seeing these super chipper, not everyone, but there are some morning people out here that are showing up and showing out. They're ready with their gym attire. They're on their bike already. They're walking their dogs. They're having full-blown friend conversations with the other morning people. There's a whole society happening in parallel while I was sleeping, folks, while I was catching Z's. And I don't understand it, but I respect it. So matracas to the morning people out there inspiring me. Then I think you're one of these people.
I definitely am. And yeah, there's like we get to see the sunrise. we get to see the other people. It is nice. And it's so funny. It is sort of like this underground society.
Yeah, it is.
But whether you like it or not, you're with us, right? Because you're there. You're right there.
I'm there, and I'm going to have to start enjoying myself.
Okay, so my inspiración is a little interesting, but I was just perusing my phone and I see this article, the headline, "Decapitation Suspect from Orange County Captured in Mexico." And I was like, whoa, wow, this person decapitated someone. So of course I was lured by by the headline. I clicked on it. And what do you know? It was a woman, a 23-year-old woman that decapitated her 55-year-old boyfriend. And look,
oh my God.
I just thought, I mean, like the experience that I had discovering that it's a woman and my gut reaction being like, you know what, good for her. You know, it's always a man that's doing all these horrible things. You know, I think equality is also this, you know, gender parity is also this.
Oh, man. This
So
is going to
just
be
that
this
experience.
is going to be a controversial one, you guys.
I know.
I just want to say on this same topic, not to have us linger on this topic, but Richard Ramirez being a Latino, he was caught very fast on the street by other Latinos. I'm just saying, It's even harder to be a serial killer if you're Latin. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah,
you're gonna get caught by your neighbors who are not playing.
The community will get you. The community will get you. Okay. With that, Delcy, what is your inspiración?
All right. So I recently watched this film called The Rental Family. It is a Japanese film. Brendan Fraser is the only American in the film.
Oh, yes.
I recently watched it. I really liked it. It essentially is about, I'll give you like a quick synopsis. It's essentially about this American actor who starts working in these these companies that provide human support services in a very unorthodox way. So, for example, you can rent a tío, you can rent a boyfriend, you can rent a bestie who's going to play video games with you. You basically rent human connection. And I was so struck by the premise of the film, but also by the execution of the film. It was interesting in so many ways. And the main thing that was interesting was like this blurring between like what's real and what's pretending in relationships. Both, relationships that are actually relationships and relationships that are made to feel like relationship. It was just awesome. So I just want to say like really cool to the filmmaker and to everybody involved for like taking a topic that's not easy to represent and putting it out there in a very interesting and thought-provoking way. Super enjoyed it. So inspiración.
Good. This inspires me to watch it because seeing the previews, it's so like, you're like, what is this about? But I have heard him speak about it with the filmmaker and it made me more intrigued. But knowing that it's got the Delcy stamp of approval, I'm going to definitely go watch that. Okay, good. I love that. I love that assignment to go do that. But before we leave our listeners, I did want to do one more plug for Encuentro. We are still looking for our travelers. We have half of them. We want the other half. So if you are interested in joining us, you can go to our website, tamarindopodcast.com/encuentro. The dates are April 30th through May 4th. We're going to Puebla, Mexico. You can expect 4 nights at a luxurious hotel, 3 wellness activities, 3 empowering workshops, 2 guided tours, and culminating with a wonderful reception at the end. And most of the meals are provided. So you all, please come to this. It's going to be so amazing, so empowering. Again, go to the website, go to tamarindopodcast.com and look for Encuentro. We'll put the link in the show notes. And we are still running our early bird special where you can get 15% off or $400 off per person if you bring a friend and you all share a room. So go to our website to get all the details for that.
Awesome.
Okay, with that, ponte un suéter. We'll catch you on the next one.
Saludos a la familia, everyone.
Bye. Tamarindo Podcast is hosted by Brenda Gonzalez and Delcy Sandoval. We're also the show's executive producers. Jeff Ricards wrote our theme song, and Sonoro Media's Karina Riverroll provides production support. If you like what you hear, please take a few minutes to rate and review Tamarindo Podcast or share this episode with a friend. It really helps us grow. To get in touch with us, find us at tamarindopodcast.com. Thank you for listening.